We've heard about the future of connected mobility, and we've heard that, the auto industry may be different in the future. Carl Bass talked about that. Our next session, and please join me on stage, Nima Adalkhani, the Chief Innovation Evangelist from Idea Market, which is it's a business, right? Or is Idea Market a business, or is it yeah, okay, it's from Idea Lab, and anyway, you can explain what Idea Market is as part of this, please do. But they're putting together a very interesting and quite impressive challenge, offering a lot of money for great ideas for transportation in Detroit, where we see this great new street line going in, but it's easy to forget that there used to be streetcars all over the place, but they got pulled up not only in Detroit, but especially in Detroit. So what's going to happen for transportation in Detroit? And please, let's find out.
Thank you so much. First of all, really excited to be here. The journey to end up on the stage started December 10th, 1989, when I first moved to the US from Germany. And the very first football game I ever watched was a Detroit Lions game against the Bears. And I didn't understand football, so I immediately fell in love with the Lions and Barry Sanders, and the next day bought this t-shirt. This t-shirt is 26 years old, and I still wear it. But fast forward to about February of this year, our lead investor, Steve Case, was speaking at Startup Grind in Redwood City, and he talked about Detroit. And just like right now, I got goosebumps. I've had a Cadillac, I've had 5 GM cars, I drive a Volt, I'm a Lions fan, and I'd never been to the city. We were planning to do an innovation challenge launch around a city or a place at South by Southwest. And so Idea Market is really a platform where investors put up money with ideas, and then we scour the world to find the teams that can build the best solutions. So I didn't know anybody in Detroit, so I emailed Allison, because I had read an article about her in, I think, Entrepreneur Magazine or Forbes. And I said, hey, we want to do this innovation challenge around the city of Detroit. Do you have any ideas where we can start and what we can do? And again, the idea was that we would have a house at South by Southwest in Austin, and people would come and write ideas on the wall. So we did the house. We had 976 submissions, ranging from homelessness to blight removal to job creation to transportation, education, safety, retraining the workforce, microfinance, and we were overwhelmed. Then in May, we came here, and I think that's where I want to start. We came here to get feedback and kind of check in with the community. And Meredith, you were there that evening when we, in a sense, kind of played musical chairs. We had identified 6 verticals: education, safety, healthcare, transportation, microfinance, and micro manufacturing. And so tell us about that night and what we did and what you thought.
Well, first of all, I was surprised to be invited to an event during Mackinac.
Yeah, that was my.
So that was another event. So it was nice to have kind of the unusual group of people there. But it was a blast. It was a ton of fun. It was a great way to meet new people from the community and understand what kind of the outside world thought our challenges were. And then, coincidentally, how does that balance up to what we, as being in the ground floor, working with the community and with the city, to kind of understand and identify that. And it was a great way to narrow that down, and done really, really well done.
Yeah, so what we did was we rated the 6 verticals on scalability, profitability, and impact. And lo and behold, transportation got the highest score. And again, Allison, in this whole time that we've been communicating, started connecting me with people. And since then, I think I've knocked on every door I could ever think of. But Allison, maybe you can talk about, what did you think when I first reached out to you, or what was your vision, or what was your first response, kind of?
So when I first got the random LinkedIn request, trying to explain what Idea Market was, I had my typical reaction when I hear about people that want to come and save Detroit and have never been here, which is to roll my eyes. But then I realized that it wasn't. I did some internet searching and realized that they were a legit organization, and that this was an opportunity, instead of to roll my eyes and see what comes out of it, but to help actually connect with the problems that we do have. So instead of just having outsiders pontificate about what Detroiters need, actually try to connect to different community organizations, nonprofits, startup incubators, everybody I could possibly think of to help this be successful. I think it's a really great asset for the region, and I was excited to be able to be in on the ground floor to help make sure that we do have broader community coverage.
Okay, by the way, I didn't ask you, Meredith, was transportation your favorite?
It was not.
Oh.
It was not. So I work with the Detroit Creative Corridor Center, and I was interested in micromanufacturing.
That was one of my favorites as well. Jamie, so one of the introductions that Allison made was to you. You're with Mission Throttle here, and we talked about this early on, and I wanted to get a sense of what you thought coming from a social impact investment angle, and really your thoughts on, is this something that would work, and what were your thoughts?
So I just love the idea of the challenge in the first place, and all the different topics that were just listed to me were all really interesting ideas. Transportation actually was my first pick. And the reason transportation was my first pick is that as an impact investor here in Southeast Michigan statewide, we invest in mission-driven organizations that are looking to solve challenges around health, education, environment. And every single time we come up against the challenge around education or health, transportation, part of the solution usually involves transportation, and actually the lack thereof is a huge problem in relation to education. How do you actually get kids to schools? Related to health, how do you get individuals actually to the available health care? And so transportation in particular is something that I think is particularly relevant for us because it's so tied into all of these other challenges that we have. And that was actually part of that discussion too, I think, in May, was that obviously all of these challenges around health, education, transportation, workforce redevelopment are actually all very linked, but I think transportation in particular. And of course, we're talking about transportation for all Detroiters, not just for the Detroiters that are in the, in the core 7.2 miles here, but that are also living in the neighborhoods. They're the ones that have the most difficult time accessing transportation and have the longest way oftentimes to get to jobs, many of them traveling 2 to 5 hours a day just to work.
Right, and that was actually one of the interesting points. I did so much research around the city and the community, and all these stats. 26% of people don't have cars, and the average person spends 2 hours and 45 minutes. And then I read the story about the gentleman who walked 18 miles, 20 miles a day, and all these things honestly seem kind of unreal to me because I live in San Francisco. We have an amazing public transportation system, and it's more efficient than driving. So I was thinking to myself, how is this possible? But what was interesting was when I came here, and obviously talking to the folks on the panel and everybody else, we saw this opportunity. And so if you think about what we do, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the X Prize. Peter Diamandis is, I think, one of the greatest visionaries who has come up with these mega challenges to impact the world. He's on our advisory board. The other co-founder is Bill Gross of Idea Lab, who started over 100 companies. So what I tend to say is that if the X Prize and Idea Lab had a baby, it would be Idea Market. So what's going to happen is we're going to launch this challenge today. If you're familiar with Thunderclap, in about 20 minutes or so, a group tweet is going to go out to, I think now 1.2 million people around the world. And we're doing a call for applications for people to submit their ideas on solutions on how to solve public transportation for the city of Detroit. And then hopefully we can use this for other cities. And throughout this process, obviously, I think the one person that's kind of leading the charge on mobility and transportation in Detroit was Ted, who Brad Feld connected me with, and I just came from the demo day. Congrats on that. I was blown away. All 10 companies were amazing. If the split team is here, you probably would have won this challenge. They were awesome. But Ted, talk about. Ted, talk about, obviously, why are you guys doing mobility and transportation? Why is it important? What's the impact it can have on the community? And then tell us a little bit, obviously, about Techstars and what your vision is for what you got going on.
Yeah, so Techstars is a global ecosystem that helps entrepreneurs take their startups and bring them to market and grow them anywhere from idea all the way to exit or IPO. And Techstars, we have 19 locations around the world, and Detroit is one of the newest ones. And the mobility program is around next generation transportation, logistics, those kinds of startups in Detroit, what Detroit's good at. And I like to say we operate at the intersection of Detroit's entrepreneurial resurgence and its automotive dominance. And when NEMA had approached me about what they were doing, I was like, this is a perfect fit. We're trying to build an ecosystem here. Our program only runs once a year. We only take 10 companies a year. And we just had our demo day last week. We had 1,100 people show up for that. And it was just a fantastic day, just kind of celebrating entrepreneurship in Detroit, but also thinking about the future of mobility. And with the Idea Market challenge here, this is a perfect continuation of that. Is not only how do we bring that kind of thinking to Detroit, but how do we solve some of Detroit's own transportation problems? And so I think it's a fantastic program, and continuing to bring the conversation around next generation mobility, transportation companies and ideas back to Detroit, back to its birthplace.
Awesome. Again, the program was, the demo day was amazing. All the companies were amazing. I was truly impressed. Before we actually read the challenge out loud, A, I wanted to ask them if anybody has any questions, and B, I wanted to, first of all, thank you all for being part of this journey. Allison, again, I probably couldn't have been able to do this without you, but I want to open up for a couple questions before we actually read the challenge out loud. Anybody have any questions? Please.
So what's the end game?
The end game is we're going to be taking applications for about 90 days. The group here is on the judging panel, as well as Bill Gross, Bill Thomason, who's our ambassador here in Detroit, a couple other investors, and we're going to hopefully pick maybe more than one team to come to relocate to Detroit, or if they're based here, to start a new business to figure out how do you get people to work safely, efficiently, and cost effectively. And they'll get an investment, services. Meredith and the DC three are going to help them with design work, and we are also going to give them access to a network of over 300 mentors in Silicon Valley, and I've been asking pretty much everybody here who I bump into to also become a mentor and support them on their journey here. What is it?
Is there political support?
Yes, so Jill Ford from the mayor's office is also one of the judges, and we've been engaged with her. And she actually was at the Idea House in Austin, and she also submitted an idea. So yes, we've been talking to literally, I think, almost everybody. And then the goal is to do one of these challenges every 3 months. So we're going to continuously fundraise and try to raise money to do all the challenges. For healthcare, for example, we might want to address infant mortality, retraining job forces. And so we're going to continuously come up with new challenges that we can launch and find teams to.
Yeah, just two quick logistical questions. One is, when you say start a new company, does that mean it can't be a formal legal entity yet, or where do you define new? And two, are you guys taking equity, or is it a grant or some other sort of financing?
Yes and no. So new company meaning that a new company is formed, the investors make an investment. It is an investment, not a grant or prize, which we think is actually going to create more accountability and responsibility to really drive innovation and job creation by starting a new business. What we tend to see with companies that apply on our platform, in many cases, is that they are working on something similar. It's maybe a mini pivot or a slight adjustment, but they have domain expertise. They are technical. They can build a solution or have already started. So it is a new company that's going to address the specific problem.
Since we're speaking of challenges, this is Natalia Petrusek, tech co-founder of a startup, Bizbee.co. Born and raised in Detroit, but I did live in Chicago for 7 years, sold my car, and used mass transportation the whole time I lived there. I've never used, outside of the People Mover, any transit here in my whole existence. I'm 36 years old. So I think inbound and outbound use of transportation is a very important factor to be considered. How can we be, and this is more of a point of information than it is a question, but I wouldn't mind some response, making sure that we're challenging both inbound and outbound users to use said public transportation, and educating them is a really important factor. So it's more of a point of information. Wouldn't mind any input.
When we worked on this challenge, we actually went to the folks of the X Prize, And at first we were thinking, hey, let's go really narrow and focus and say, how do we get 1,000 people to and from work in 90 minutes or less for $3 or $4? But what Peter actually said was that this is more like a beauty contest. You want to go as broad as possible, and the solution could be something that helps public transportation, an algorithm that optimizes routes. It could be car sharing. I mean, it really can be anything. So, and again, the goal is to help the community. So I actually wrote a blog post about my experience, and someone challenged me to ride the bus. So I'm going to ride the bus for an entire day during this trip and talk to people and really figure out, what are they going through. So one more question, and then we're going to read the challenge in the corner there.
I just wondered, Transportation Riders United is a very important advocacy organization for transit here, and I would hope that.
I put Nima in contact.
Okay, but someone should be involved in
Yeah.
assessing the applications in the sense that they know the problems, the best problems.
Yeah, so we're taking applications for 90 days, and we already have, I think, 14 people on the panel, including a couple of transportation experts, and we want to build this panel to really, again, involve everybody. So can we move to the next slide so we can read the challenge? And what I ask you, since I'm not the people of Detroit, everybody read, Meredith, you want to start with the
Sure.
first?
We, the people of Detroit, hereby throw an ambitious challenge to any entrepreneur, engineer, or creative thinker to produce an innovative solution to help the citizens of Detroit get around the city efficiently, safely, and cost-effectively.
We believe that efficient transportation will re-energize Detroit's economy to increase job opportunities.
We believe that the citizens of Detroit deserve mobility.
We believe that the Detroit Transportation Challenge will support our current residents and attract new residents.
We believe in the collective power of our innovators to create solutions that will solve Detroit's pressing transportation problems.
We believe that small teams focused on solving a problem can produce great results, which can bring access to reliable transportation to everybody.
We believe in a future where Detroit's efficient transportation becomes a model that other cities around the country and the world will look to replicate.
And today, we are starting the movement with the launch of the Detroit Transportation Challenge.
So I ask you to share this with everybody in your network, tweet it, Facebook, and again, in about 20 minutes, about 1.2 million people are going to see this call for applications. And we're excited to launch this. And again, we'll be doing a series of these challenges. So if anybody's interested in being involved, and again, if you want to make connections to other experts and panelists, we're more than happy to connect with them. Thank you so much. And panelists, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nima.
Thank you.
Congrats on that, and thank you all for being here.